Did you know that there are stitchers under the age of 60? Hi, I'm Milesy, and today I want to talk about the generational divide that tends to happen between stitchers. Now, stitching and needlework in general really is kind of seen as being this hobby for old women, something that you really don't start doing until you're 60. But if you think about that it doesn't really work, because this is something that takes quite a lot of skill and patience and practice to get to a point where most people even feel like they're good, so how are you going to be magically great at it once you reach a certain age unless you start when you're quite young and build up to that point? So obviously there must be plenty of young people out there stitching, right? Now I can see from the demographics on my channel that roughly half of the people that have been watching over the last month have been my age, with ages ranging anywhere from as young as 13 years old to 65 years and older. Now obviously if you're going to have a community with this big of an age range, there is going to be some clash. That is inevitable. But it doesn't have to be quite as bad as I feel like it is sometimes. Now, stitching in general seems to be kind of focused in a few different areas online, and each of these different areas has their own atmosphere and culture. Today we're going to be talking about the two places I primarily hang out, which is Tumblr and Facebook. Now, Tumblr has a much younger demographic than Facebook does. It tends to be a little bit more political, a lot more subversive, and in general, people are more willing to just play around and have fun over there, while the people on Facebook tend to skew older and are a lot more traditional in the way that they approach their stitching. Now, this doesn't mean that there's only younger people on Tumblr and only more traditional older people on Facebook, of course. There is some overlap, but it doesn't really overlap even in the same way. The more traditional kind of posts that you will see on Tumblr aren't really worded the same way. There's a different kind of culture over there entirely, and when you do get subversive posts on Facebook, it's almost like they have to follow a certain set of rules to be allowed. Most recently, and I talked about this on a live stream fairly recently, was a case where someone was trying to do some political stitching for pro-Trump, which even in groups that call themselves subversive and mildly offensive, they took offense to these posts, and this person's posts either got deleted or they got kicked out of the group. Now, it probably didn't help that when her posts weren't very well accepted, she actually started going through the group and reporting posts that she didn't agree with to Facebook itself. Now, that's something that you tend to just see on Facebook. You don't see it on Tumblr very often, and if it does happen, it's very rare and often behind the scenes. It's two completely different cultures, and the rules are different between the sites, and the expectations are different between the sites, and that does seem to mostly have to do with the fact that the demographics are completely different. You have the younger stitchers over here who are pretty much learning on their own, and the older stitchers who have been doing it this way for ages and ages and ages. And they're not really coming together quite as nicely and harmoniously as they might like to think sometimes, which is kind of a letdown in a lot of ways. Now, I am pretty active on both of them. I'm on Tumblr just because that's where the people my age are, and I can relate to people over there and have conversations, and when someone's talking about something, it's something that I know about because this is something that's also happening to me. Whereas I don't really feel that way on Facebook because everyone's talking about their grandchildren and how their grandson is getting married and all these things like that, and it's like, I'm not quite there yet, thanks. I'm gonna go back over here. And because of that, I don't really fit in very well on a lot of the groups that I'm in on Facebook. And a couple of months ago, when I first started really using my page over there and really trying to get into the groups, I joined about 24 Facebook groups. Right now, I am in maybe 10. And I have not left a single one. I have been kicked out of over a dozen groups just because as far as I can tell, the stuff that I post isn't really acceptable for one reason or another, or I don't fit the mold of what they think a stitcher should be, and it's really awkward and weird, and every now and then I will post something and then go back to check on it, and I can't see it anymore. Did it get deleted? Am I kicked out? What the heck happened? It's really weird and awkward, and it's happened so many times. I'm pretty much waiting at this point for the day that I get kicked out of one of the subversive groups, just because that seems to be how Facebook works. And one of the best examples of the Tumblr kind of stitching not really being a good fit for the Facebook crowd is the piece I did a few months ago that I will probably be giving to my grandma. The lovely rainbow sampler kind of thing that just says, "Oh fuck, not you again." And the reason I'm giving my grandma this piece for Christmas is because I know she'll appreciate it. She has another one of my pieces hanging up in her kitchen that's just "no" in 5 different languages. So my husband and I both agreed that, yeah, she'd probably like this one, so let's give it to Grandma. Now, I posted this to a few different groups, and I am so glad that I actually took a screenshot of this in one of them, because I am not a member of any of the groups I posted this to anymore, except for one. Because that's how Facebook works. They didn't like it, so they kicked me out. But this woman, Linda, bless you, Linda, you felt the need to come onto my post and say, "Sorry, not in my house." Why was this necessary? I didn't post this on your wall. I never said I was going to give it to you. I posted this in a public group. And this woman felt the need to tell me how she felt about it in such a way that it would not belong in her house. Like, how is that not rude? It was so weird that I had to screenshot that immediately and send it to a bunch of my friends, because what the hell? And I get it. Some of these women must think that we're all just Edith Ann over here, hating every single stitch as we do this, which obviously isn't the case, or else we wouldn't be doing it in the first place. And of course, this isn't to say that all older stitchers are going to be completely clutching their pearls at every opportunity, and it's only the younger stitchers that are getting political and subversive and playful with their stitching. There is, of course, some younger people who are totally clutching their pearls over here, and they can't believe anybody would ever say the word fuck. While there are some older stitchers who have totally been political from the beginning. This is probably just a case where it's the most obnoxious minority that seems to shine through and really get on everyone's nerves. At least I hope so. I really hope that it's not actually just a complete generational divide where only the younger people are doing this and only the older people are doing that. Please don't let it actually be like that. That would be horrible. No. But there are some attitudes that do need to be examined, and they do need to be adjusted, because some of the stuff that I see actually does border onto gatekeeping in a very scary way, and gatekeeping is a beast completely of its own that I'm not going to tackle in this video. I will talk about it next week, because it needs an entire video dedicated to itself. But this was just kind of a hopefully quick little video. I'm not sure how long it's going to wind up being, but I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the weirdnesses that do happen, just not even just necessarily between generations, but between one site and the other. Just because I do want to do a video on gatekeeping, and I felt like this was a necessary primer, so tune in for that next week when I will be talking about that. But thank you so much for liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun stuff, and I will see you later. Bye! Thank you for watching. If you would like to support future videos and get some neat stuff in return, please head over to my Patreon page. Your support means a lot to me and goes a long way. If you're not in a position to donate, consider sharing this video with your friends to help this channel grow. Otherwise, please enjoy this goat. But man, Edith Ann over here. A+.